Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome one and all to Cladding Matters. Now, first things first, we are but two of us today. We still got an amount to talk about. Obviously, we prefer if Steve was here because he can bring us news from the front. And I know he's been sending messages out last few days showing just how much uh, sort of progress we're getting there. Other people taking up the fight. We've got the former Premier Victoria, Ted, who has written quite strongly about this. We've got a lady, Alison Hills, who's written something quite strongly about this. And we've got even the Greenwich Mayor, David Gardner, refusing to help facilitate a meeting between residents and the council, quite an innocuous meeting, just trying to check that we've got all our ducks in a row, given that the new law is going through about candor, which potentially could change everything, but still no movement as yet. So I wanted to hear, hopefully, because Steve unfortunately has work that drags him away, quite rightly. It's got to keep the lights on after all. Hopefully, he can be able to drop in. But Hamish, today's topic is ostensibly no meeting, no answers, no progress. The very topic I was talking about. What's your thoughts?
It brings to mind the wonderful song of Simon and Garfunkel, "The Sound of Silence."
Yes, quite. Absolutely. Absolutely.
There are occasions, of course, when one would hope that councillors and politicians generally would just not bother making any sound at all. But there are moments when they can make a significant contribution to what is actually sort of going on. And this is what we're
correcting a perceived wrong. I would say we're pretty much top of the list, right?
Well, I mean, we've got several aspects here. There's correcting a perceived wrong, which is the seriously important one. And when we look at the pyramid, that it sits right at the very, very top of that pyramid to say, hey, look, guys, when this property was when these buildings were actually sort of first raised from the ground, as they were, there were serious aspects of that build that went wrong. The most obvious ones, as we well know, all you do is you walk through the door, and there is no fire door on that sort of on the shaft which you would actually have to escape from, or if you like, the fire officers would need to actually get up there to actually sort of help save people. There are no fire doors.
But on top of that, of course, having gotten and through he had to fund it, self-fund through a GoFundMe to be able to afford to get a fire inspector in of his own bat, who then had a look at the glass in the very shaft that would be both the escape route and also the point of ingress for fire safety officers. And what did he find? The safety glass. It would shatter into big shards, effectively becoming hot daggers for anybody wanting to find their way into the building through those stairs. So on two counts at least, right?
So we have this sort of situation, and the other aspect is, I mean, that most recent comment that Gareth just made about the mayor of Greenwich. He has decided it's nothing to do with him. He only gets involved with civic matters. But he could make an observation. If he felt that what was going on was in actual fact an error of judgment, or an error somehow that the council had made when they sort of had lost all the documentation where they'd been submitted to them. All there needed to be was an admission, because what happened, what we've actually sort of had through the council making their comment, making their decision, they have said there is nothing wrong at the time of build. There are certain things which came out as a result of Grenfell, and of course that's why the remediation is taking place. But because what's happening, the poor souls there, Steve included, And we do reinforce this. We'd like to get somebody on to actually explain what is happening to the mental health of people. They're actually in an oven at the moment because they're inside a property, 15 stories up. You think they go up to 16 stories. You think, all right, the 16th floor, and it's covered in this material because it's got scaffolding all around the outside.
It's almost mummified. It's a sarcophagus, isn't it?
They cannot open their windows much more than a fraction. And if they do, all they hear is noises. And in some respects, one of the challenging things about properties really built, the ones that have been built this century, they're sort of built, the whole idea is to keep the heat in. But what it does actually sort of, that's great during the winter, but during the summer, of course, if it's keeping the heat in because you can't open your window.
It's an oven inside a sarcophagus. That's what it appears to be. And on top of that, the very fact they can't open their windows at all, not really, and to boot, they've now got potential, and it's been already happened, of workmen or anyone being able to peer straight in to people's homes on any of the floors they're supposed to be working on. There's no privacy. It just seems to me to be trampling over some basic human rights. You've got a right to privacy. You've got a right to be able to lead your life and control the heat and the flow of heat inside your own home. But you're being denied that. It's really no better than a very expensive prison.
And of course, one of the sad things is, and we're very, very fortunate to have somebody on who was explaining about, if you like, there are alternatives to scaffolding. And when you see the two pictures, what the difference it makes between what can be done, you can do it without cladding, you can do it without scaffolding.
I was very proud to have been representing a company that provides something called mast climbers. Now, mast climbers are incredible. They've been around for 35 years, and they are a fixed, don't want to say pole, but almost like a gantry that goes vertically. It's attached to the side of the building. And in a similar way that we used to lower people down to wash the windows, instead of being lowered down by cables, this goes up and down on this vertical gantry and on this vertical pole. On this vertical mast, one must call it. And that meant at the end of the day, they could all winch down to the bottom, so they're well away from anybody's windows. You don't require all the different shrouding to be covered everywhere. There's so many benefits. But what I must say is, before we go any further, I'm very pleased to say that our supporter and compatriot, Steve Day, has arrived. I'm just going to bring him on. Steve, welcome to the show. I was explaining to viewers that unfortunately you've got to keep the lights on and work.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it is what it is. Very pleased to have you with us. Very briefly explained, as is the name of today's show, that even though you've asked for it, even though you've pled for it, even though you've been very sweet in asking for it, you've gone to various quarters to ask for a meeting so that they could explain what's going on and why they're behaving this way, and all doors appear to still be locked.
And we've also what we spoke about, Steve, before you arrived, we spoke about the current conditions with the heat that everybody has got to tolerate within the building. So we hadn't actually got on yet to what the announcement by this wondrous council over 12 months ago, what it's actually sort of brought about. It's imposed this sort of semi-imprisonment upon obviously the residents, and therefore they're suffering as a consequence of doing that. But the important thing is, and the most important aspect, is the fact that they're denying appropriate remediation of the whole, because of the residents having to put up with all of this without actually getting the fully appropriate remediation. If they kept their mouth shut, if there had been a sound of silence, if they kept their mouth shut about it, something could have been done. But because they said there was nothing wrong, they have overridden a number of reports. And I mean, Steve will tell us a little bit about that anyway. So over to you, Steve.
Well, thank you, guys. And yeah, so where do you start with this? It's basically, yeah, we continued. I wrote to the council basically today, summarising for each Labour councillor. I say, your silence means the following. I've listed every councillor's name and I've put their email address for
Is
each.
that the image you sent me? Yes.
Yes, if you can load
Yes,
those
cool.
when you're
All
ready.
right, here it comes.
But anyway, let's have a look at the timeline. So I basically sent them this timeline, and it shows just how unbelievably stupid this council is. So let's take you through it. So one, the worried residents, that's us at Royal Artillery Keys, writes to Anthony, and it's Anthony, the leader, Anthony Okereke. So the first one, worried residents, here is our evidence of unlawful defects, and we send them everything. Then a bit later, Anthony, the leader of the council, says, that evidence you sent me doesn't exist. I'm going to publish that on my website, the council website, and it's the council's official position. It's that all the evidence we sent them doesn't exist. So we then go back, the evidence we sent you does exist. Here it all is again. Send it over. Then Anthony goes, the evidence doesn't exist, and I don't have to justify why. Then Stephanie Barwise, a leading Grenfell KC, says, the optics of a council not taking potentially life-threatening defects seriously are troubling. And then Anthony, I will remain silent. I don't have to respond to a Grenfell KC. And then the worried residents, that's me and the residents, we will send you the same evidence again, including from the council itself. And then old Anthony, I'm asking my head of legal to threaten you with harassment charges, which she does. The worried residents, can we please just have a meeting? The evidence does exist and they are dangerous defects. And then old Anthony, I will remain silent. I've asked my CEO, which she did, to decline all requests for meetings. And then, so that's just a crazy timeline of denials, threats, lies, even ignoring a Grenfell KC. But more, have a look at the other image. International affair has started. It's become so widely known that Greenwich Council cannot basically tell the truth on dangerous defects affecting 1,000 people. It's got across the pond, and a big pond at that, because it's gone all the way to Australia, as this image will show you.
Oh, hang on. Let's try that.
Yes, the former Premier of Victoria, Australia, writes the following. The Royal Borough of Greenwich Council continues to demonstrate its collective lack of ethics, transparency, and humanity. The facts are clear. The relevant buildings were non-compliant when built. The buildings pose a material fire risk. The council continues to deny this. The council is jeopardizing the safety of thousands of its residents. And this is the chilling bit for the council. In the event of a tragic fire, it is likely that councillors could face claims of criminal liability, but it would be too late for the residents. Unacceptable, delinquent, dangerous, and shameful. That is from a former state premier from Australia.
Who is himself a surveyor. It's not like he's just standing on the sidelines. And he's been active.
Had him on our great show, haven't we?
No, but he's worked tirelessly in Australia to address this very thing. Now, interesting enough, when they had a similar sort of disaster, they immediately started getting on with it and trying to work out what to do. Whereas here, as soon as there was a disaster, it appears they've spent the last how many years? 9 years trying to avoid doing things.
Well, today I've written to the council, every councillor, I've said the following. By your silence, this is your position. You reject Stephanie Barwise's advice that the evidence does exist. you reject the evidence, and you also support the council position that there's no evidence of unlawful construction at RAC. So I put that on a table for all the councillors, that is what their position is. And I've invited them, and I thought about Cladding Matters. Friday at 1 p.m. next week, we will read out all the councillors and their pictures, and we will show each person
publicly
councillor,
available
and we'll
pictures.
put a statement underneath, and that will be the end state position. And they are all in very big danger of the Hillsborough law, because when that becomes effect, if you have not taken the action of retracting a false statement or retract your support of it, when we ask you again after it reaches royal assent, then we will report you all to the police, because you will have all committed the offence of misleading the public.
Knowingly, with plenty of evidence from you. Otherwise, so that and what is more, Steve, we must show that all the pictures we show where they come from on in the public domain.
Oh, it's just the council
AI
website.
Created or something.
No. We'll just go to the council website. We'll show each picture that's already there, and then we'll show the statement they've agreed to in the email. And by silence, councillors of Greenwich, you are agreeing to the quote I've put against your name. So you are now complicit in the great denial of building defects at RAC. So have a think about that. Have a think about your position over the weekend and next week. You have until Friday at 1 p.m. before you're named and shamed for the appalling denial which you are complicit in by silence. Your silence does not protect you. It's time Greenwich Council took some responsibility.
So hang on, let's make this absolutely plain. What is it? I'm going to put a banner up. What are we looking for? We need a response
to the email sent today.
The email sent today from Steve Day.
Yes.
Hang on.
In fact, as we're putting the challenge out there, I sent you one more image. Just so
1 p.m. What was the date? I'm sorry, I'm being a bit thick. What's the date?
If you want to, I don't know how hard it is to upload that last image, but let's just show the
I'll do that shortly. Hang on a second. I'm going to put a banner up so it's absolutely plain to see.
Yeah, it's 1 p.m. next Friday.
1 p.m. Friday the 7th.
Yeah.
1 p.m. Friday the 7th of
August.
Yeah. My goodness.
Through the year.
Because of the Hamish. 1 p.m. Friday the 7th of August, after which we will name and shame
the councillors
and shame councillors. I don't know if my spelling's up to it. Hang on, let's see if we got that right. Right. Hang on. No, I haven't. I missed out an L. Right. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to put that as a scrolling banner across the bottom, and then I'm going to add this image up.
And I think what this does is it reminds each councillor that silence is complicit agreement with the. Yeah. All right. Let's have a look. Steve Day by 1 p.m. Friday 7th of August, after which we will name and shame the councillors. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Bear with me, Steve. 3. Right.
And the good thing is, well, it depends how you look. It could be a good thing. Could be. This is a public announcement, really, through our podcast that we're actually sort of recording today. So you can actually get back to it and sort of read it yourself. Each of those councillors.
Have a look at this email. So what it says is, it's important all Labour councillors supporting these false council evidence denials are given the opportunity to correct their position, which is currently summarised in the table below. So I've put the 2 points of evidence. So 1, I said, please review below 2 website entries and contact me by next Friday the 7th of August at 1 p.m. if you want to revise your position. And I've sent them the council position, which says there's no evidence of unlawful construction on their website. And I sent them the view of Stephanie Barwise, KC, a leading Grenfell inquiry KC, that know something about the situation of building safety at Royal Artillery Quays and the denials, and have condemned the council for it. And then this is the killer. I've listed every single Labour councillor, as you can see there, and the statement that each of them, by their silence, are agreeing to is the following. I agree that there is no evidence of unlawful defects at Royal Artillery Quays. I reject all evidence provided and reject the view of Stephanie Barwise KC. Now, the view is in the link above. Each one of you councillors from Labour in Greenwich, have a look at that and look at very carefully at the Barwise KC Substack and ask yourself, do you really want to publicly have a position that you reject a leading Grenfell KC on the matter of existence of evidence? Not whether the evidence is convincing or not, just whether it exists. And this is your chance. You've got till Friday at 1 p.m. before the next Cladding Matters goes live to correct the record. Send me an email to say this is not your position. It just takes one of you to break ranks under Anthony, absolutely dishonest position. So I'm appealing to you, for goodness sake, don't risk prosecution under the Hillsborough law when it comes in. Reject Anthony's control and email us. You can even come on Cladding Matters if you dare. I'll leave you over for an appeal.
And may I say to any councillor who wants to come on Cladding Matters, including Anthony, you will get the warmest, sweetest reception. We're not going to be looking to lambast you. We just want to hear from you. And this will demonstrate in many ways whether you care about the people who live in RAC, because by ignoring it, you are effectively showing a lack of caring. You're making it okay to, it's what we come down to so many times, Hamish. How much loss of life is acceptable? I mean, are we talking, is 5 people and a dog okay? Maybe 2 people and a cocker spaniel? I know what we're saying. How much life lost is fine? Because at the moment, what you're saying is you don't care. And to me, that seems unacceptable at best. I'm going to wrap it up here. Hamish, thank you so much for having set this up. Would you care to take us home?
Right. I mean, the final thing, I'd just like to sort of reinforce, and maybe Steve can actually sort of add to his little list, that mayor who suggested that there is the state of his residents' sort of welfare is nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
He really couldn't give a monkey's.
That's David Gardner, by the way, and he is on my list. David Gardner as Mayor of Greenwich. If you're watching this, or someone that knows you is, for goodness sake, you are the Mayor of Greenwich. You managed to get the council leader to get you in as mayor, right? You must have influence over him. All we're asking you to do as Mayor of Greenwich is to ask Anthony, urge him to meet with the residents so we have an opportunity to prove why our evidence exists. And if you can't meet us or you can't arrange that, then you shouldn't be mayor and you're failing in your role. Surely the safety of 1,000 residents should be of concern to the mayor.
It amazes me. It amazes me. It's we could turn this into a farce, because it is farcical. There should be at least one point when the rector drops his drawers and they find a French maid inside a cupboard, because that's how farcical this is getting. So thank you so much, Hamish. As ever, good fight, Steve Day. Thank you so much. And to all you watching, I hope you're with us. Let's push this forward. We just, at this age, we're not asking for major things. We're just asking to accept what is, after all, a complete truism, something that was written by the council back at the time. So all they're doing is saying, yes, I agree with myself. That's all they're saying. And we just need that written, because that means we can then move forward. Until next week, so hopefully just as exciting and hopefully more helpful edition of Cladding Matters. Please keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars in these rather troubled times. Look after your mental health. Bye-bye now.
There's a tip out some folks with hammers and some nails. face.